Hi everybody, it's January 2025 and Arma Reforger has had a whole new lease of life with tens of thousands of new PlayStation players coming in. But more importantly, the fact that the game is much better than it was 2 years ago when it launched, and it's very playable and an awful lot of fun. But I realised that I haven't done a tutorial on how to play the game mode that most people play, the main game mode, Conflict, since the game launched. So in this video, that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be playing Conflict by myself using Games Master to kind of show you what's going on and what you should be thinking about doing, because it's very confusing, Conflict. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into scenarios, and you can do this too. I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to choose Conflict on Arland, because Arland is the smaller of the two maps, and so it's a little bit easier to understand. And then I'm going to host this. Visibility, no, we won't bother using any mods, and I'll just host it locally. That way it'll be nice and stable. So Conflict, if you're familiar with Battlefield, Conflict is a massive version of Conquest. So we can choose our faction. Generally, when you join a server, the Soviets are the ones that have the fewer players, so I quite like playing the Soviets. I like RPG and AK, so choose Soviets. Try and choose a squad that's already got players in it, because the best way to learn is to spawn in, turn on your radio and say, "Hi, I'm new, what do you want me to do?" And people will tell you what to do that way. So we're going to jump in this way. So let's zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole of the map. So we're starting off here at the main operating base at Tenor. And in order to win Conflict on Arland, we need to capture two of these main places, of which there are only two anyway, that are in purple here, Caban and Prologue. And by capturing them, we need to get rid of the enemy forces that are on them, and we need to get more soldiers onto the area, and then, after a couple of minutes, we will then capture it. If we capture both of them, a timer will then start counting down. I think it's 2 minutes, something like that. Actually, it might be a bit longer, whereby if we hold them for that time, we will win the game. And obviously, the Americans are going to be starting off somewhere up here. The catch is that we can't just spawn in and jump in a vehicle and drive round to Prologue and drive up to Caban and capture them straight away. Because you could do that in Battlefield, couldn't you? You could just run to the furthest capture point and capture it. Can't do that in Reforger. We can only capture things that are within range of our radio. And to start off with, the only thing that is in range of our radio is this place here, Seas Moss Hill. So that's the only thing we can do straight away. What we're going to do, let's just deploy in, just so we can have a quick look around the main operating base. So here we go. So we've deployed in, and as we can see, there's not much here. There's some supplies, there's the HQ, there's a nice BMP, and there's a truck. So people have probably already jumped into these and sped off. However, there is some things that we can do to help straight away. What we could do is we could look at the map, and we could go, okay, well, actually, that's where I want to go. Now, if you ever decide to do something like seize somewhere and you start heading there with your squad, always accept it and say that, yeah, this is what we're going to be doing. This is what objective we're going to do. Because if you then do it, you then get more experience points and you level up. And you might think, what do you mean level up? This is a military simulator. It's not an RPG. True. But certain things are controlled by your level within the game. So you start off as a private, and as you play your way through this particular session, you'll then get promoted if you do things. So if you capture objectives, if you kill enemies, if you transport soldiers, if you transport supplies, all that stuff will rank you up, which means you'll then be able to spawn in different levels of equipment in terms of different levels of vehicles and build different things as well. Now, what we can do straight away to help, if we want to be really helpful, is, unfortunately, at our base at the moment, as you can see, there's nothing really there. There's 600 supplies, and players can spawn here, but once you've spawned in, well, you can start running, but there's nowhere to choose different weapons, and there's also there's no big antenna here either. So it's like, oh, okay, so if you ever spawn in at the home base and it's got lots of supplies and nobody's bothered doing anything yet, if you go in here and just start building, the first thing you might want to build is the ammunition supply dump. And once you click on this, you can then choose to put it somewhere. And we click that down like that. And the other thing is a radio relay station, which we can put at the back here, out of the way. And then we play as the character. And then what we do is we then choose our spade. So that's 0 on PC. You have to bring up your radial menu on console. And then we go over to the place and we start building. Now, if somebody's already doing this, if you get your spade out, you can both build at the same time. So you can build things much, much quicker. And by building this little arsenal here, this little ammunition supply dump, what that then means is that players will be able to change their loadouts and add additional things. So they'll be able to pick up RPGs, and they'll be able to have sniper rifles, all that sort of stuff, and save their loadout, which is useful. Now, the catch to this is that all of this uses supplies. Okay, so it means that you can only change your loadout if there's enough supplies. Also, if you have a custom loadout and you capture an area, let's say we were to capture Moss Hill at Yantar here, which we will do in a minute. If you've got a custom loadout, you can't spawn there with your custom loadout if you've died, unless there's already one of these supply things here. So we've built that one, so that's good. So we could have a look in here. We could go, right, okay, I tell you what, I fancy a bag for some RPGs. So let's do I click on that? There we go. So I've now got that. Then I could go over here and go, ooh, okay. Let's open this, and I fancy an RPG. So, right, I've had an RPG, a couple of RPG shells. Right, I'm good to go. Fantastic. But we've also got a blueprint over here. Now, if you have a look at the map right now, you'll see the only place we can capture is Yantar. Can't capture anywhere else. Now, watch what happens after I build this. So let's build this. Again, if you've got squad mates helping you do this, or you can help people, it'll happen much, much faster. There we go. Build. Okay, now see, I'm still a private, but I've got a little bit of levelling up. Now what happens, if we bring up the map, we can now not only capture Yantar, but all these other areas. So you can just about see these red lines. This is the length of our radio. So we can actually capture now this main operating base here, this military training area, which is one of the main areas, one of the 2 areas we need to capture. See how those is? We need to capture 2, so we need to capture that one. We could actually go and capture that now if we wanted to. Or we could capture Arville or Signal Hill. We've just got to reconfigure Signal Hill. So at Signal Hill, there will already be a radio transmitter. So when we get there, we can then reconfigure that, and that will probably get us all the way to Caban if we want to do that. So already we've been kind of a useful soldier for that sort of thing. So let's come out of this. So let's say either we've just done that, or we've spawned in and this has already been done. You're thinking, okay, so what do I do next? So you've got to think, okay, well, I want to capture, say we wanted to capture Yantar over here. What do? Well, one of the most useful things you can do is actually go over there and take supplies. So what we could do is we could load up this truck, and we could drive it near the supply section over here. So it's near here, and load it up. Or if there's a vehicle depot, we could also request a vehicle. In fact, I'll tell you what we're going to do. What happens is, once you've captured a base, the supplies start respawning in slowly. So let's see what we can build now. Let's just go into this. So we can build a light vehicle maintenance, small fuel depot. And if you're ever not sure what they do, if you just hold your mouse, it will tell you what we'll be able to do. So that will provide light vehicles. Now these ones here, so light vehicle maintenance means we can basically get jeeps. Small fuel depot means we can refuel. Then you've got field hospital. Now field hospitals, I can't build that yet. I need to be the next level up, corporal. I guess that would be 2 stripes. Now field hospital means that players that are injured can be taken back to full health So a little bit, you tend to respawn anyway. Now living quarters are really important, because with a living quarters, but you've got to be a sergeant to be able to build that. That means you can then spawn in friendly AI squad mates, and those friendly AI squad mates will then defend the base. Now you probably don't want to do this at your main operating base here where we started, but as we go further into the map, where you're going to have areas that are going to be contested by the Americans, then we may want to do that. Helipad, again, we need to be, I think, a sergeant or a lieutenant. And if we spawn in a helipad, we can spawn in helicopters, so we can do stuff. And then we've got floodlights and stuff like that. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's spawn in a light vehicle maintenance place. Let's put that, for example, there. Because often these will be on the base. And let's get our spade out. And let's just build this. Because one of the things you don't want to do in Arma Reforger is you don't want to be playing it like a running simulator or a hiking simulator and trying to get across the island on foot, because it can get very boring indeed. It's not too bad if you're with your buddies, because it's also very easy to get lost. One of the most important things is to use vehicles, because vehicles will get you to where you want to go faster, but it also means you can carry supplies. And what we want to do is when we actually capture Yantar, we want to have some supplies with us so that we can build things like an armory, or we can build things like another radar base, another antenna. So if we go over here, we can see we could request a vehicle. Notice, however, that again, it's all dependent on the supplies. So let's request a vehicle, and let's say we wanted a nice little UAZ, and we can place that down. So now we've got a UAZ. Nice and cheap, and we could zoom across the map. I'll be very surprised if a BMP was still there. Now, if we go to the back of it, we can see load supplies. Now, we've got to be close enough to the particular like supply depot or this in order to load supplies into it. So let's go in and let's load it with supplies. There we go. So as you can see, we've got the supplies in it. So me and by myself or with my squad mates, we could then now make our way towards Yantar and capture it, and we've got some spare supplies. The other thing you can do as well, there are vehicles dotted around the map that you can pick up, like trucks and cars you can use. And these little green things here, this is where supplies are definitely. So if you go to that place there will be some supplies, you can pick them up. Also, there are secret supply stashes dotted around the map as well. So you might be driving along and find them. So we can do that. So what I'm going to do now, let's just come out of the map. And let's just press K. So we need to go to the northeast, don't we? Let's see if we can look. So that's north. So we're going to go in that. So let's just jump into Game Master and head towards Moss Hill. So what you can see here with Game Master, we can see Moss Hill. There's the capture point there. So that's the area we want to capture. However, there's all these little fellas here. So these are independents. And in order to capture here, we've got to kill these guys. They're gonna stop us. These are AI NPCs. At the other end of the map, you'd have the other team, who are slowly making their way towards you. So you've got to shoot these guys. Now also, you'll find these AI NPCs, they may be manning roadblocks, and they may well be just patrolling around the map. So what I'm going to do, because there's only me, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to delete them. Okay, like this guy here. There we go. Is that all of them? Let's delete that machine gun team. Oh, let's delete this. These guys. Okay. Oh, what we got here? See, there's quite a few of them. Okay, so what I can do now is if I go back to where I was, I can be quite cunning now, and I can play as me. And we get in here. Let's get in here like this. Go back into Games Master. And what you'll be doing, obviously, in the game, is you'll be driving to these places. But what I can do is I can pick this up with a bit of luck and drop it down over here. Or have I just picked myself up? Okay, I've just picked myself up. We wanted the truck as well, didn't we? We got the truck. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's drop that there. Like that. Player's character. Here we go. So let's imagine we've driven up here. And we've run over here. We've killed all the enemies. And you can see now we're capturing the base because there's no enemies around. As long as there's more of us than them, we'll start to capture the base. So if there's 2 of us and 1 of them, we'll start to capture it. If there's 3 of us and 2 of them, we'll start to capture it. However, we can't build anything until we've got rid of all of the enemies from the local area. And generally, they'll start to respond, the AI NPCs who are nearby. Obviously, if these are real players, like the Americans, they're going to get the notice, the fact that this base is being captured, and they're going to respond that way as well. So as you can see, we're slowly capturing the base. If we look at the map, so this is us here at Yantar. We can capture, so we could choose to capture Arville next. Let's see what happens. Excellent. And as you can see, base captured. We've gone up a little bit more now. What we could do is we could start building. There's 225 supplies available, but that's not enough supplies to make anything. So what we can do is we can go over here. Right, where's the? So that's the HQ. That's where the supplies are going to be stored. Now, normally you wouldn't obviously drive straight up to an enemy strong point and try and take it. You'd park your Jeep or park your truck a little bit further away. There we go. Let's just drive up here. Park it there. Hopefully that's close enough. Go to the back of the vehicle. Unload supplies. Dunk. Dunk. So we've unloaded supplies. So that means now we could come into here and we can go to the build section. Alright, enemy in the area. Now, because there's only me, I'm going to cheat and go to Game Master. Right, where are they? Here they come. So let's just delete them. Okay. Let's just go back to the player. So obviously you would be in a gunfight and you'd kill them. So now we can start building. So now we've got to think, well, what do we want? What do we want? So we could have a relay station and that would extend the range, but do we really need to do that? Because we're going to capture somewhere else further, aren't we? But what might be really good is if we did an ammo station and put that somewhere. Where could we put? Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. You want to put it where people can see it, because people will spawn inside this tent. So if you can put it where people maybe can see it, then it stops them thinking it doesn't exist. We say we could put it over here. Would they see it there if we put it over there? Yeah, okay, let's put it there. And now we've run out of supplies now. We can't build anything else. So we'll play as the character. Press 0 to bring up our... There we go. As we go over here. And then we can start building this. Now, again, supplies slowly build up at captured bases, but only very, very slowly. So if you want to really build up an area in terms of having like an armory, which means that players can spawn in with a custom loadout, which is important because it means they can have things like RPGs or rocket launchers, or radio packs and that sort of stuff. Or you want, to build a barracks so that players will spawn in, so that you can spawn in NPCs. Or you want to spawn in a vehicle depot, which is really important, which means that after players spawn in, they can then spawn in a Jeep and they can carry on the fight, or a heavy vehicle depot, so you could spawn in trucks or a helicopter pad. You're going to need more supplies, so you'd have to go on a supply run to say somewhere like here, and then bring those things back. And that's where you start to realise that in Arma Reforger Conflict, it's not all about just engaging the enemies or the NPCs. It's really important that as a player, if you want to go off and find supplies and bring them back, we could turn this area here into a really important node for going on to capture, the military prologue, or even reaching out to Caban to capture that. Because what we could do is, if we put a aerial here, let's see how many supplies we've got so far. Let's just check, see if there's any supplies in this jeep. No, he hasn't got any supplies. Go in here. Okay, so we've only got 38 supplies so far. Okay. But let's say we went off and we found some supplies. Say we went here in a truck and brought them back to Arville. We could then put a radio transmitter, which would allow us to be able to take a strike on Caban. But then we could also, we've already spawned in our... sorry, we're here, aren't we? We're at Moss Hill. What am I talking about? So at Moss Hill, we wanted to spawn in a radio transmitter. That will it get us all the way to Beauregard and Caban? Might not. I'm not quite sure. We'd have to check on that. But anyway, what we could do is make this a better jumping off point, because we've already put in the bunker so players can spawn in with custom stuff. Then if we added the vehicle spawn point as well, it means people can jump into vehicles to take on Arville. And then you can do the same at Arville as well. So as you can see, it's really important that as a player, you're not just concentrating on killing enemies, you're concentrating on moving supplies around to make all these little bases you've got really useful to your colleagues, the other people are spawning in, because they might have NPCs, because they'll have an armory so they can choose their custom weapon loadout, because there'll be a way to spawn in jeeps and trucks so they can carry on the fight rather than moving on foot and then moving across that way. So there we go. So the next step might be to go and capture Prologue, and then other squads could go and capture Caban. And when you're in that sort of situation in conflict here, you've got to decide, okay, so is my squad going to hang around here and defend it from the Americans that are probably pushing south, or are we going to push over to Caban? And this is where you're going to communicate with other squads, or you're going to see what they're doing. Although we can't see where individually we are on the map on Arma Reforger, you can see where the squad leaders are. So you can see, if lots of soldiers are moving towards Caban, then it might be an idea for you to hang around on Prologue to defend this from potential attacks, and vice versa. If everybody's hanging around here, maybe you should push towards Caban. And you've also got the opportunity of, if you capture like Signal Hill and reconfigure Signal Hill, pushing right towards their base, which would probably be, I'd imagine the Americans are probably around here, or even if you capture Prologue, pushing to here, so that they have to counterattack towards you and can't, go to take Caban. So there we go. Hopefully this has been useful. When we play on Everon's much bigger. So you've got to, instead of having to capture 2 major places that are in purple, often it's 5. And then there's smaller versions on Everon as well. But there we go. So the next time you spawn in, think about what's been built around the base. Think about how you can get supplies to a particular base and enjoy that aspect of conflict just as much as the combat. So hopefully this has been useful. If it has, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. And of course, I'll see you again soon.